To go. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Good to see everybody. Got Terrence Troy Horton with me. How you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful, man. Doing great today.
Absolutely. And Phil, aka Sexy Phil Heimlich. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing very fine. Thank you, sir.
The Great Interrupter, aka the.
Excuse
I
me.
got to joke with you. I got to joke with you, Phil. We got two crew members who'll be joining us as we have to embark we have to embark on our voyage today, and that's Kevin, the voice of reason. I got to get it together in my head.
Yeah, let me just say, as I volunteered, I can do Kevin. It's real simple.
Okay.
Power to the people. Right on. The usual militant rhetoric. It's not difficult. I can handle
that sounds more like me, but okay, great. You can do Kevin. That's good. And also, Raven Monday is scheduled to join us, and we'll pick them up and bring them on as soon as they get here. But I want to say hello to the people in the audience. We appreciate you. It's all about you lifting us up. Terry was first inside of the room today. We appreciate you, Terry. Thank you for being here. Please, if you get the time today, hit us with a like and a share. It means everything. Hey, David, he writes, good afternoon, Hot Mic Cincy and Meta Live fam. All right. Bonita writes, good afternoon, Nate, guest and crew. Good to see everybody, all crew members. Dina writes, good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you. Brenda is here. Good to see you, Brenda. Shahira, good to see you. Nat, what's up, Nat? Regina, Rachel, Terry, are you feeling sexy, Phil? That's what Terry wants to know.
That's a very personal question, if you don't mind. I think that, that goes a little too far. I do not want my personal life spread across this community like some kind of white whale corduroy.
All right. Fernand Rucker, one of our crew members, writes, peace and blessing. Good to see you. Gragston, TJR Gragston, I call him Black Russia from back in the days when I was doing a daily podcast. He writes, where are my comrades? Good to see you, Black Russia. Darren writes, what the hell? My comment just got ignored. No, I didn't see your comment. Trying not to ignore any comments. Nah, I'm going all the way back. I don't see a comment from you earlier than the one that I responded to. Lemmy writes, good afternoon. Good to see you. Rick Owens writes, hello, everyone. Nichelle Bolden writes, good afternoon. Tanika's in the house with us. We got royalty in here, man. Oh, Chop Shop royalty. Yes, I love it. Hey, listen, the show is growing. You might not be able to tell, but I can tell by the subs that we're getting, the follows that we're getting on Facebook. YouTube is lagging behind.
Plus all the fan letters I'm getting. I don't even have time to open them.
plus all the fan letters that Phil is getting. He doesn't have time to open them. Raven Mundy's in the house. What's up, Raven? Good to see you.
Hello. Good to be here. It's been a
Absolutely.
minute.
We got something special for you.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Raven. How are you?
Thank you.
Absolutely. For sure. Glad to have
33.
you.
33.
33.
Oh, Raven, now tell
Oh.
the truth. I want to see some ID. I thought it was more like 23. Now, come on.
According to the
Come on.
Democrat, she can't find an ID. She probably needs to get
Come
a
on.
change or something to go vote.
Come on. What's that expression you guys always use? Something about speaking the, what is it? Being real, getting real. Come on. Let's be honest.
33.
30.
Listen, I was born in 1993, which is, y'all don't think so, but in this day and age, I say 19 and automatically, when I go, like, when they check my ID, as soon as they see 19, they don't need to see nothing else. We live in that world now where somebody born in 2000, 2001 is a full-blown adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
33. It was a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But glad you were here with us. Kevin's going to join us along the way. Kevin is big time now. Yeah. His ego. Photographs. He's at a photo shoot right now. I mean, Kevin's on another level. So
His vanity has just gone,
Yeah.
it's to a new level. You know what I
It's-
mean?
it's-
If it wasn't for this show, this show is keeping him humble. Okay. Without this, who knows what he'd be thinking?
yes, I got to keep that man humble.
He's not like me. I have a fragile ego, but others are not like that.
No, I kid you not. He's like at a photo shoot for GQ magazine, something vibe, something. He'll talk about when he comes on, but he's supposed to join us here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. I'm joking about some of that. Other than the photo shoot, I don't know what the photo shoot's all about, but Tanika writes, I remember 33 too. Yeah.
It's lit.
Man,
It's
listen,
lit.
it's super lit. Super
It is, but you know what? I was talking to a friend about this the day of. It was actually on Sunday. But I was talking to one of my good friends about it, and I feel like my 30s are like my 20s, but not as stupid, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
And on up.
Yeah.
It feels I'm still young. I'm still having fun. I'm still figuring things out, but I just ain't as stupid as I was, or green or naive as I was at 20 something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Darren is in here. He hating on you already. He writes, Raven has the opinions of a 33-year-old, all emotion, no logic, no reason. There you go. Get him.
You know what? I've had a great birthday, so I'm gonna let you have that,
Let him
Darren.
have it.
Whatever you feel is your reality. You know what I'm saying? Your perception is your reality.
We got Nawusi Simba, aka Black Lion, who is a legendary caller into talk radio. When I say legendary, I'm not making that up. I mean, from across the nation. If you were primarily a black person, did talk radio in the last 25 years, he has called in to chop you up, to correct you, to tell you how conscious you are not. So
He's never disagreed with me on anything.
Not at all.
Oh, he gives me the business. He says that his last time he said, I want to be white. And I thought about that. And I don't know how to pronounce the first name, but Simba, if you only knew what I've been through in my life, you would be like, T, you done come a long way. You just do you. Because there's been time I've been trying to keep it real in the streets and caused a lot of damage to myself and people around me. So I'm happy to be who I am in the skin that I'm in. So when I see your comments saying like I'm trying to be white or I'm trying to do this, I'm just happy to be here, brother, for real. Because I know where I come from and it ain't a good place. So call me what you want.
Mm-hmm. Darren writes, Black Lion is the best caller ever. Some would agree with that. Some would disagree. Leslie writes, Terrace is back. Now, what do you mean?
That was my reaction too.
Sierra's here. Good to have you, Sierra. Appreciate you. So let's get into it. First topic, let's start local. Not sure. I added this late, so you may or may not have got a chance to see all this, but dozens of people were arrested for an alleged Cincinnati street takeover. And if you don't know what that means, it means a whole lot of people. It's like a car culture thing. I've never been a part of it, but there's a part of me that would like to go to it. So you like take over the streets, you go to parking lots, you do burnouts and donuts. Burnouts, I believe, is where you're hitting the accelerator and the brake at the same time. So the tires peel and screech and you get that burnout smell. And then sometimes it leaves the black streaks. They also do drag racing, which we know can be very, very dangerous. But Cincinnati PD cracked down on it. Apparently they got hip to it via their investigations and Facebook, and they shut it all down. And the FOP chairman, or not FOP president, Ken Colbert, who's been on this show, seemed very pleased with himself. He said, look, we ain't got time for this. We cracking down. You got at least one member of city council now who is saying we need harsher penalties. They want to be able to impound your vehicle for up to like 90 days and give you $1,000 fine. And seems like a very serious thing. Have anybody ever gone to one of these car takeovers before? If so, what was the experience like? And is this the right approach that Cincinnati is taking, like pushing for harsher penalties and cracking down? Is that the right way to handle this situation, in your opinion?
I've never been to one. I too am kind of curious because I grew up on the Fast and Furious franchise, so it kind of gives those feelings of nostalgia, but I also know that it's a dangerous thing to do, right? It's not something that quote unquote law-abiding citizens partake in. That's the whole point of Fast and Furious is taking a bunch of criminals who do illegal things and making it look cool for an action movie. And then eventually they go legit and work with police to solve crime. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you kind of take a bad thing, you make it look cool, and then you slowly shift it into something good. That's the magic of Hollywood, right? But it is something that's dangerous. It is something that, is destructive to city infrastructure. And so there's gonna be laws around it. There's gonna have to be a way to address it and deal with it. But it's one of those things that if you are participating in it, you are also participating in the acknowledgement of the risks that come with it, which is injuring yourself and others, which leads to harsh penalties. I think that it's just one of those things that if you're going to partake, you have to just take on board whatever they decide to do about it. You've already decided that that's worth it because of the lifestyle that you're living. That's kind of what happens when you live a life of crime, right? And I'm not saying these people are like the most terrible people in the world, but you're doing something very dangerous that's considered a crime. I don't really see any issue with the way that CPD has chosen to handle it, just because it's a crime. If you commit a crime, there's gonna be a penalty for that crime. You're gonna have to pay the price. That's just it.
On both fronts of it, in Louisville, Kentucky, we used to have these things that called Screaming Eagles. It was during the Derby Festival where we'd block off streets, and it would be one of those things where it was against the law, but during Derby time, if you've ever been to Derby in Louisville, it's kind of like the Jazz Festival is here. It's like it's all throughout the West End of Louisville. You can do whatever you want. There's no rules. It's like, you're policing yourself. So in several streets in Louisville, there's things called Screaming Eagles where they block off the streets and they have street racing and motorcycle racing. And like you said, you can smell the smoke burning and it feels good and got barbecue going and music going. But let's to flip that on the other side. And that was back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, and they stopped it. And then they started to bring it back again right before COVID. Like my son said in the chat, then they stopped it right again during COVID because it's something that, like you said, is dangerous. But if I'm not mistaken, I wish Kevin was here, and when he comes on, he can fact check me. But this is something that was happening the last fall, and they didn't know how to get a hold of it. They were going over to Reading, I think it was Reading, and they do these street things. And by the time the police would get there, they'd be gone. So everybody would just take off. So they were shutting down streets in Cincinnati, doing these car I don't know how you even call them, the street racing. And then the police had no way to handle it. So whenever the police came in and they had this collaborative effort to go in there, swoop in, take cars, they sent a very strong message to the people who are going to maybe start this trend up again, like they had it in the fall where they had nothing, they had no counter for it. I'm sure police did their police work, figured out what they could do to counter this thing. The first time something like this popped off in the late winter, early spring, then they they hit it. They hit it hard. What did they tow? Like 80 cars and fine people. And you know, when you're doing those things and you go in there just to be a spectator and you get your car towed away, that's going to change your perspective on doing those things. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you. So I agree with. I think that this was excellent police work. That was not just something that was a hunch. So it's not what. Oh yeah, this is great police work that they just ran up on these dudes at Woodford. They probably had intel, knew that they were coming because they swooped in, got all these cars, towed all this stuff to say, okay, y'all want to try this again? You know, like preventative measures. They took a stance, and I like what they did.
I highly doubt that they even did any like actual investigating. This kind of stuff gets popping on the internet and then it catches fire. Like as soon as somebody mentions it on the internet, which is what young people do, unfortunately. Like not unfortunately, because for I'm not a parent yet, so I don't necessarily think like this all the time. But if I were a parent and my kid was on the internet talking about some stuff they ain't got no business talking about, I would be appreciative of the fact that they're so naive that they do things like that. But I'm a little bit closer to my teenage years than I guess everybody else here on this panel, and so I remember
don't rub it in, Raven. Don't rub it in.
And so I remember being a teenager and thinking that I'm untouchable and thinking that I can post whatever I want on the internet and nobody gonna catch me or nobody gonna find out and stuff like this. Oh, they finna do a car meet over on such and such, and not thinking nothing of it. Meanwhile, the police department is trying to figure out ways to shut this stuff down. You can search up anything. You can find anything on Facebook in the search bar these days. All you gotta do is put the word in, press search, and it'll pop right up. So I'm sure that's how this even went down. It wasn't no like, oh, we spent so many nights investigating and trying. No, somebody got on Facebook and was like, car meet Cincinnati, and this popped up and they figured out how to shut it down. I'm pretty sure that's how that went down. And it's unfortunate for those who were partaking, but it's also, like I said, you are partaking in something that is illegal. You're partaking, or at least something that is centered around illegal activity. So if police are aware, they're gonna come through, they're gonna shut it down, and you're just gonna have to deal with the consequences. Y'all gonna have to move if they want to continue doing the stuff. They're gonna have to move a little bit differently. But again, I get it. If it's one of those things where it's gonna be, and to be honest, truth be told, I do think that it's gonna happen a lot more, especially as it gets hot out. Because what I've noticed as somebody who is chronically online, these like car meets and stuff, this stuff is becoming a lot more and more mainstream. It was at one point just a little niche thing that was only happening, like in subgroups of the culture, but it has become a lot more mainstream. Like I see stuff like this on my timeline all the time now in the last like year or so. It's become mainstream. More of these young people are getting into it. It's a whole thing now. Even in the rap songs, if you pay attention to the rap songs now, they're talking about the SRTs and the track hawks and all that. Like it's all in the music. So of course people are gonna be more into it because as it becomes more mainstream, I guarantee you this is not the last car meet we're gonna see for a while. Like we're about to see this all summer long. So just prepare yourself. And like I said, for those people who are interested or partaking in it, y'all gonna have to move a little bit different if y'all not trying to get fined or get your cars towed or whatever the case may be, because now they know what's happening here, they're gonna be looking out for it.
Phil, what do you think?
Well, first, I have no recollection of my teenage years. Okay, but
Poor Phil.
but I will say this: in 10 years as a prosecutor, 8 years on city council, I never saw this. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's got to be a little more recent because I literally don't ever remember one case of this. And just looking at the penalties, right now, I think it's up to $1,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail. I mean, to me, that seems, at least for a first offense, that seems pretty reasonable.
Reasonable? 6 months in jail and $1,000 fine?
Excuse me, up to.
Yeah, potentially $1,000. Okay.
Well, no. The reason it is up to is because the judge can look at the person has a long criminal history. Hey, send him for 6 months, as far as I'm concerned. But if not, if it's a first offense, most judges are never going to send a first offender to jail.
Wow.
Could this be
for me, I hear what people are saying, and as someone who has family that drives these streets, a wife, children, myself, friends, people I care about, I don't want to pick up the newspaper or turn on my phone and read about somebody, losing their life or in the hospital because somebody was, driving recklessly. I don't want to hear that. What I will say is that I hope that I see an opportunity here.
Yeah.
There's a
Are
real
you
opportunity
recommending
here.
harsher penalties? Because if so, Nathan, that would be a complete change
No, I'm
between
not.
our perspectives. Okay.
I'm following up where I think Raven is that this is an opportunity. This car culture thing is big. There's potentially millions of dollars in this. And so what I would like to hear is a conversation on how we can absorb this. How we can make this a thing. Like the schools are bankrupt. Everybody's claiming that they're bankrupt. Why don't we turn this into a once a year thing in Cincinnati where they can go over to Woodward? They do it the right way. They want to do donuts and burnouts. Cool. Now, maybe the street racing, no. But if you want to do donouts and burnouts and show out and do videos, we can make money off of this. And to me, that's the way we should be thinking right now. This is a huge opportunity. So I disagree with King Cobra. He's like, we want to dissuade people from coming to Cincinnati. We don't want to do that. We want more people to come to Cincinnati. Hey, Kevin's with us. What's up, Kevin?
What's going on, y'all? How's everybody feeling?
Hey, doing well. I was just telling you that Kevin's on another level now. He's doing GQ photo shoots and
Kevin, what is this? You know, are you too good for us now? Just be honest.
Oh man, yes.
Hey man, you know you guys are my favorite family. There's without question.
Probably tell that to everybody who you interview.
He didn't notice how you didn't answer the question though. So
yeah, that was a very political answer there.
Very political answer. So I still kind of like y'all for now. But no, we were just talking about this harsher penalty things, and I was making the point that, I hear the conversations about it being reckless, but to me, this is an opportunity. If people want to come to Cincinnati and drive in circles and burn out their cars and mess up their clutches and mess up their vehicles, and we can charge them an entry fee or something like that and make it into a thing, make it into a draw for Cincinnati, I'm all for it. So I understand, the law.
Realistically, who's gonna do that legwork? Who's gonna actually do that legwork?
The chat said Hamilton County Fairground. That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna suggest that you go to the Hamilton County Fairground and block it off, charge people, let people have races, burnout contests, charge content. I mean, this, like I was gonna say before you did, Nathan, some great minds are thinking alike. Turn this into an opportunity for a gathering, turn into a voter registration drive, do whatever you can. There's so many opportunities for this, especially if it's a culture that's taken over. So I agree with you. I'm just saying what you're saying. And then in the chat, someone said take it to the Hamilton County Fairground. And I think that's a phenomenal idea.
But I think I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm not saying that this is a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. I just don't know how feasible it is, because one of the appealing things about something like this is it's the allure of, will we get caught or not? Like, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of a key part of it. It's us meeting up in the middle of somewhere, and the whole thrill of blocking off traffic and creating a disruption, and you know what I'm saying? That's like part of it. So how do you remove that part of it and still make it fun for those who are looking for that particular element of it? I don't know if that's I don't know if that, you know what I'm saying?
I think you make up a good point, but here's what I would do. The way I would look, I think you make a good point. But I think what we do is the same thing you do with like people is in certain relationships is you spit out the bones, right? You eat the flesh and you spit out the bones. And so if we can take a part of this and make it into something that makes Cincinnati, a little bit cooler, or it becomes like a cultural center in Cincinnati, that's great. I looked it up and there are cities that are doing this. You got organizations called US Drift, because drifting is a part of it, where like the back end of the car like spins around and drifts around corners. You got it's called Grid Life. They're doing this in other states and they're making money off of it. And I think this is where the direction that Cincinnati needs to go in. Like, everything can't just be baseball and football and stay in line and church and hot dogs. We got to do something to put Cincinnati on the map in a different way.
I just don't know if the city is willing to do that level of legwork to make something like this happen. And like I said, that element of will we get caught, won't we get caught? I think that is just part of at least from what I understand about the culture. I'm sure other cities have figured out their ways to do that, but I just don't know if Cincinnati has that. Like, I don't know if Cincinnati is got enough grit for something like this, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think if Cincinnati has that, and I don't know if we want to portray, that kind of a grit on that level of, you like cars, you like fast cars, you want to do this, you want to do that, come to Cincinnati. Like, who's thinking about, oh yeah, I want to go to Cincinnati and do, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if we have that kind of a personality as a city for that to be something attractive here. I think that what makes something like what just happened attractive is because it's Cincinnati and because it's not sanctioned and because it's one of those random acts of crime or whatever the case may be, that's what made that in particular interesting. When you take away that element, who the hell want to come to Cincinnati and do something like this without the level of buzz or grit that it takes to do something like this? You can do something like this in Detroit. You can do something like this in Philly because those kinds of cities have that natural grit that they're known for. Don't nobody really know Cincinnati for having that grit. What they know us for is the nasty chili that everybody says is nasty. What they know us for is the Reds. What they know us for is the Bengals. But like it's all family friendly type of stuff when people talk about Cincinnati. So I don't know if this is our thing to kind of hold and house the way that you want to hold and house it.
We could
But
be.
you got to start somewhere. I would say, Raven, you got to start somewhere. Cincinnati might not be known for something like that now, but that doesn't mean that you don't begin to kind of build that culture. Like I think that's part of the problem that at least as I see it, that Cincinnati has is, starting to make a name for yourself in other ways beyond just what folks around here know us for, or like you were saying, the chili on the spaghetti that everybody is like, ugh,
Everybody hates Cincinnati chili, and it's like it's heartbreaking because every time I go somewhere and I say, "Oh," they'll be like, "Oh, wait, where you from? You from Cincinnati?" I'll be like, "I'm Cincinnati," and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, y'all got that nasty chili," and it's like, "Dang, that's how y'all know us from nasty chili. That's crazy."
Yeah.
But I don't know if I were to say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Cincinnati," and then be like, and somebody would look at me and be like, "Oh yeah, y'all do the car meetups or the car whatever." It's like I don't know if that's an easy transition. That's all I'm saying.
Anybody else? All right, let's move on. There was something in the audience here. There was a bunch of things. Hold on. I want to make sure that we are bringing in the audience on a more regular basis. There was a question, a couple of comments. Darren writes, there's urban culture, then there's general lawlessness. Too many of these guys are into lawlessness, calling it culture. The urban community is becoming unsustainable. I don't know if that's true or not. You guys agree or disagree with what he just said there?
There's tons of white people out there. There was plenty of white people in that there. I mean, it might. Why does it have to be labeled urban culture when there was more? I think there was just as many white people there with showing off their cars as black people. It just happened to be where it was at. So I mean, I don't think it was urban thing.
If you're taking urban to mean black versus like, inner city, like city type,
Okay.
urban and rural can mean, urban typically means city versus rural, which sort of means like more, you know, non-city areas. I'll just put it like that. So urban doesn't necessarily have to simply mean black. I mean, I would need to know, if that's what Darren meant in his comment. But I'm assuming he means sort of like inner city type stuff. But that was going to be my question as you were talking about it, when you were saying like the city kind of embracing it. I mean, there is a danger element to it that you can't sort of ignore and get around. Like, yeah, street racing is thrilling, as Fast and the Furious type stuff. If you think about it, until somebody flips a car, somebody gets killed, stuff like that happens. And then, what liability does the city have in regards to that? So it all sounds good, right? Until somebody gets killed, and then it becomes a big issue. And also, you also kind of got to look at, to Raven's point, I mean, the fact that it's unsanctioned means to some degree that it's kind of free and freewheeling. Once you turn this into a thing, then people begin to monetize it. People begin to figure out how they can make a buck off of it. And that changes the dynamic of the culture and the situation. Like, once you start to inject, I think, a certain measure of business to it, right? And so I think that what Raven was kind of speaking about as it pertains to the culture and what makes it thrilling, I think the fact that it is unsanctioned is part of it. Because when you add the sanctioning part to it, then you got rules and you got a whole bunch of other stuff that come into play that takes away from that dynamic.
Yeah, I think it will work. I hear what you're saying. I agree with you and Raven. That's something that could have an impact. But when I look at city council members who will come up with harsher penalties, to me, I mean, anybody can do that. Anybody can sit around, something happens, you react and say, we need harsher penalties. That's nothing. I need people on city council. We need leadership that think outside the box, who are thinking 2 or 3 steps around, who are thinking and looking at other cities at good ideas and trying to bring it here. That's the way I look at it. But we shall see. I would love to hear the city of Cincinnati say they're going to try to look into making this an event. Somebody brought up the Hamilton County Fairgrounds. Why not? And you know, you even got Cincinnati Bengals who are in a big culture, into a car culture, like the 2 wide receivers are both into car culture. Now, of course, they're doing it the legal way, but there's something there that could be further explored, that could make some money for the city. I'm sure some promoter out there is going to hear this and maybe think about it. And, you know, maybe there's a way to deal with the liability, so it's on the individuals. Like, hey, you know, partake at your own pleasure, at your own risk, and then, you know, you can make some money out of it somehow. That's what I'm thinking.
I also want to just put it out there as well too, that let's say the city figures it out, right? They figure out a way to create this event around, you know, these burnouts and these donuts and all this other stuff, and it becomes popular, right? We also then run the risk of copycat events where it's not something put together by the city, but it's just a bunch of people who, because they like it so much, because they, you know, enjoy it so much, and now it's being embraced by the city.
Really,
they feel as though, okay,
hey, Raven,
we
I
can
hate
do
to
this
cut you off,
stuff
but you're cracking up so much we can barely hear you. Yeah,
Let me see.
like really, really crackling.
I have to say, Tony Huey just said something about people love outlaw events, even when Phil was a kid. Putting that statement aside, it just reminded me of something which is kind of similar to this. Does anybody here remember Evel Knievel?
Yes.
Remember
I
him?
remember.
It's sort of a similar thing. Remember, he would like take a motorcycle and jump over 5 trucks or over the Saw something River Canyon. I think it's that element of, gosh, somebody could really get hurt or killed is in a way what makes it sort of attractive.
Man, look, get Vin Diesel, Chase, and Higgins and do some kind of event, and people will show up in droves. And you're right, there'll be copycat events, but the thing about the copycat events is that's where you can get $1,000 fine and get your car towed. Nobody wants to do that. You want to go where Chase is, where Vin Diesel is.
But the only reason why I brought that up is simply because when you do those copycat events or whatever the case may be, you run the risk of the city sanctioned or whatever event getting blamed for it. So I don't know why it'll be stuff like, well, I don't know why the city embraced it in the first place. Now you got these copycat events and they're ending in these crashes and these dangerous things. And now it's like, well, the city should have never embraced it in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, it leads back to that first event that was you know, taken on the back of the city. And now the city has to answer for why there's so much of these crimes now happening all over the place. Well, you embraced it, so of course it became a thing. Of course, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I see that going, because it happens all the time. Every time the city embraces something or picks something up, and then we have copycats of it, and it increase. Case in point, with the whole recreational marijuana thing, the people voted for it, and then there was an uptick in those DWIs, and now the city should have never embraced recreational marijuana in the first place. Why would like, it always happens where if something is embraced by the city but it doesn't pan out the way that people want it to, then the city gets blamed. So on that basis alone, I would see the city being like, nah, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna embrace this.
Could be. We got
Hey,
Twin.
I was just gonna say what passed for a thrill when Phil was a kid was a horse jumping over a ravine. So that's not quite the same as street racing. Okay, let's just get that straight.
That was a low blow.
That's why
Evel
Knievel was a step up
to make me an object of some humor, some cheap humor. I mean, I can't believe this. It's unbelievable.
We got a Twin with us. What's up, Twin? What do you think?
Hey, what's up, man? What's up, homie Kevin?
What's going on, Twin, man? You rocking the brim, I see you.
Yeah, it's called Big Pimpin'. Called Big Pimpin' Tuesday.
Big Pimpin' Tuesday.
No, hey, Nate. I mean, I think it should be like I've been to the Derby, man, and it's a strip, man, when they race cars and bikes and all that. Some cities, they allow that, but I said like this, Nate, on the real, for real. I'll take it to Hamilton County, man. Charge people like $5 to $10 to get up in there. Hey, I'll sign a disclaimer. Hey, you at your own risk if something happens. So you can make money off this, man. Just because they stopped them up there at Woodward, I believe they got another spot to go to. So it's just they putting it on Facebook and the police catching. All right, we go do that. But if y'all can go in there and close 40 people and stuff, why y'all can't close this killings around here and all that? But it's something fun to do for the city, man. I mean, play at your own risk. That's how I look at it, Kev. I'm Nate on a real note. So play at your own risk. So I don't have a problem with it for real.
You been down to Derby and seen it, Twin?
Man, I've been to Derby 3 or 4 times when they do it, man. Hey, I'm in Chicago. Huh?
Was it a Screaming Eagles down there in Derby in the West End?
Yeah. You see, Terrence, they stopped it before COVID. They had them little YNs coming down there with them old Hellcats and all that, and then they started want to fight and all that because it was back then in the late early 2003,
99.
and all that. It was it was hot. It was hyping now that it was jumping, and next thing I know, man, them YNs came before COVID and it was over with. So yeah. So man, I feel like, hey, take it to the Hamilton County Fairground, make some money off of it. You can profit off of it, man. But play at your own risk. Sign that disclaimer. That's how I look at it, Nate. If I want to make money off of it and keep, because they go take it somewhere else. Might not be in Cincinnati since they got this, since they got popped out, but I'll take it somewhere else. I mean, just play at your own risk, because these young kids, they got them old Camaros, whatever them new Hellcats and all that, man. They want to see how that engine is. So that's how I look at it. Just be careful, man. That's all I see. I don't have no problem with it, to be honest.
Appreciate
all
you,
right, young fella. Okay, man.
You say young fella. Appreciate it.
We can hear
man.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's happening at the airports. ICE have been deployed to some airports. And for folks who don't know, there's a partial government shutdown right now because of, and this is how Democrats will say it, because of the actions of ICE agents that we saw in the streets, wearing masks. Some would say, Democrats will say, causing terror among not just so-called immigrants, but also American citizens. They have decided that unless some things are done, that they're not going to fund DHS. What were they asking for? They were asking for things like, follow certain guidelines, don't wear masks, follow the Constitution, things like that. Now, because of that, it's also impacted TSA agents who have not been paid for many, many weeks now. And to my knowledge, and what's been reported, is that the Democrats have offered up a way to at least partially pay for at least the TSA agents, but Republicans have said no, and largely they've done so at the request of the president, Donald Trump. Donald Trump is saying that until the SAVE Act passes, and that's about voting, he's not going to sign any bills, including this. So he's really putting a lot of pressure on his party, the Republican Party, to make sure that they pass the SAVE Act. But I want to get your thoughts about this, because there's mixed opinion about this. In general, what do you think about the ideas? Do you support the idea of ICE agents being deployed into airports?
No, it's about the dumbest thing that. This administration is not known for its intelligence. I mean, look, this is a combination of things that I can't understand why on God's green earth Trump would want to, put them in action together. The economy is a mess because of this war in Iran. People are already struggling with affordability, gas prices, all of this. Now you're messing up the airports, people waiting in line for hours to get flights to where they're going. They're missing flights. And you're going to put ICE, an agency which has been under scrutiny for what they did in Minneapolis and in other places all in the country. So you're going to put them in the airport as a reminder of how bad they are, right? And with everything else that's going on, I think it's just putting front and center in front of the American people everything that this administration is messing up and what they're messy with. And so I think it's just a bad look all the way around. And Trump, I don't, who knows how this guy thinks or what he's thinking, but I think the Democrats are right to hold out and get what they want, the changes that they want to have made with ICE. Look, I'm not even going to put this all on the Republicans, because the Republicans have gone to Trump with several deals that they've negotiated with the Democrats. This is all Donald Trump. This is all Donald Trump and his obsession with trying to fix the midterm elections, because he knows what's going to come with that when, not if, but when Republicans get their clocks clean. And all this is going to do is just going to continue to keep the mess of everything that he's been doing for the past 6-7 months front and center in front of the American people. And this is a losing strategy for him, as it seems like everything that he's tried since he's got reelected. And I think, Democrats just need to hold firm. They need to not buckle. They need to continue to stay where they are and let Donald Trump, unfortunately, for these poor, TSA individuals, they're suffering. But there's no way if I am the Democrats that I capitulate to this, to even allowing this SAVE Act to get through, which I don't think it has much of a chance of passing anyway. But there are greater things at stake here in terms of what Donald Trump is trying to do to force a fix on the midterm elections and beyond with this SAVE Act. And so, unfortunately, travelers and TSA people are suffering right now, but I think Democrats need to hold firm.
And can we also just call this what this is? This is nothing more than this man using ICE. The inception of ICE, I knew that this was what this was going to be. ICE don't got really nothing to do with immigration. It has everything to do with Donald Trump creating his own militia.
That's so untrue.
He figured out that he could not use the United States military the way that he wanted to, and that there were restrictions there, and so he created his own militia. That is what ICE, and if you look at the way that he is using ICE, he has used it to function as his own militia since its inception. They do whatever he say do, whatever he say do it, even if it don't make sense. Why are y'all setting up shop in the airport, the one place in these United States that you must have documentation to come in and out of these United States or go anywhere in these United States? It's pointless for you to be there. To Christian's point, Terry, you got a smart son. But to his point, there's no purpose for you to be there other than for you to intimidate people, other for you to do whatever your master told you to do, which is to be his militia. That's what we're looking at here. And so if we're looking at this through any other lens other than, as you said, Kevin, for him to trying to do his best to strong arm this midterm that's coming up, this is what we're looking at. He has created his own militia. He's using it to his will, and there's no other way to look at this right now. There is no other way to explain this other than I am doing what I want to do when I want to do it. That's been his entire MO, this entire administration, and the one before this. I don't know how we found ourselves back here again 4 years later. We knew what he was capable of and what he wanted to do 4 years ago. Why did we find ourselves back here? I guess you're gonna have to ask white women and unfortunately the Latinos, but here we are. Here we are.
Can I'm gonna ask for uninterrupted time just like you guys had, okay? Just for
no, that you're not gonna get.
First of all, Kevin said that the Democrats are blocking the SAVE Act, and that's a fact. Raven said that Donald Trump created the ICE. I believe that ICE was created before Donald Trump took administration. So he might be using it as militia, but he did not create this to do as such. It was created before.
Excuse me, he enlarged it so it will be the 15th largest army in the world.
Okay. Since ICE is a fully funded, I'm going slow. So Phil, please stop, man.
So I can keep up. Okay.
ICE is a fully funded group. Unlike TSA, Homeland Security, they're fully funded up until 2028, 2029, I think. So they have a full budget to work with, to employ people, and they're still hiring people in. So just like what we saw in Minneapolis, they had nothing to do. Because when they cracked on immigration, all the illegal immigrants either self-deported out of here, and there's nobody coming in on the borders. So these agents, these ICE agents that they are employed by the federal government that already has a working budget, they need something for these people to do. Let's talk about the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act, Kevin just said, the Democrats have blocked the SAVE Act because there's certain things that they're just not going to capitulate on, and they're going to stand on business, and they're going to fight against Donald Trump because Donald Trump wants the SAVE Act passed. The Democrats do not want the SAVE Act passed. So they're both plate tectonic.
Why don't we talk about what's in the SAVE Act?
Tectonic pushing on each other. So when they're plate tectonic pushing on each other, one's got to go one way and one's got to go the other way.
Talk about what's in the SAVE Act.
The TSA is not being paid because the SAVE Act is not passed, and they have not funded TSA for 6 weeks. The TSA agents are now starting to call off work. So Donald Trump, with the position to move ICE agents who are already getting a paycheck, he's saying, hey, I got these people over here. They ain't got nothing to do. Let's send them into these airports where they already have to check baggage. When people are coming through immigration, they can, and he's like, okay, the time that we have to go and replace these TSA workers, we could train these people who are already employed by the federal government. So I understand both sides. The Democrats are saying, we're going to stand on business, just like the Democrats said, we're going to stand on business, and it stopped SNAP benefits for a little bit. Remember that one? In November when they stopped SNAP benefits because they were holding on, but all of a sudden, Chuck Schumer, Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries capitulated. Sooner than later, they will have to capitulate. Hold on as long as you want to, but call it what it is. When you give Donald Trump this power to do what he's doing as far as sending ICE agents into the airports, you can't cry and say, what is he doing it for? What is he doing it for? You guys are giving him the power to do it by standing firm against somebody who is unreasonable. He's going to use.
I don't know what you're talking about, Terrace. I do not know what you're talking about. I don't understand.
This ain't for you then. This ain't for you then, brother.
No, I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I think you're confusing. I think you're confusing the SAVE Act, which I am going to explain what's in the SAVE Act. Okay, but you seem to be confusing that with the whole TSA issue. The whole issue. Let me say something. You've talked for a while. Let me say something. First of all, what the Democrats are standing on, and yeah, unfortunately, because that so-called big, beautiful bill already passed, they don't have any leverage to take money, unfortunately, from ICE. So the only leverage they have, as Kevin pointed out, is the money for TSA. And even though it is unfortunate, there are lines and there are people who aren't getting paid, the importance of what is being, the Democrats are asking of ICE is too important to our civil liberties. One of them is those masks. Do you know, I forget what commentator said, the only group that uses masks other than ICE is Hamas. Okay, every cop out there, every cop that's on the street, they don't have masks. This is what happens in dictatorships. So that's one thing. Also, requiring a judicial warrant rather than an administrative warrant. Administrative is just some guy at ICE who signs off on it. It means nothing. Those kind of changes need to be put in place, and I don't care what leverage they have. And if it's TSA, fine, hold the TSA money, but they've got to get those changes or we're going to lose our civil liberties. Now, real quickly, as far as the SAVE Act, which again, I see as a totally different issue. Here's the problem with the SAVE Act and why Trump wants it so bad. It isn't just ID. Most people are okay with ID, meaning like a driver's license. The SAVE Act says that you cannot register to vote unless you have a passport or a birth certificate.
That's so untrue.
Excuse me.
No, that is true, Terry.
That's
exactly what it says.
That's so untrue.
That's exactly what it says, Terrace. Don't sit up here and misrepresent. Like that's the whole point of the SAVE Act.
And
is
that's not even the worst of it.
Newly people have to produce a birth certificate or a passport when they are registering to vote? That has nothing to do with the people who are already registered to vote. What does that have to do with people? You're talking about stopping illegal immigrants. And please, I would like to get back to this ICE agents into the
Of course
airport.
you would. Of course you would.
Because
Of course you would.
now y'all want to go back. First, y'all were saying, "Oh, the ICE agent shouldn't be there." I want you guys to rebuttal what I just said about that. Not go to the same.
I will rebut that. Here's the first thing.
ICE agents being in the airport, and while they're in there, and you're saying it's a bad idea.
Can we let Phil finish real quick?
Why the ICE agents are there?
Hold on one second, Kevin. Can we let Phil finish because he was in the middle of a thought?
Actually, I was, though. You guys, to be honest with you, kind of picked up on it. The reason Trump is so desperate to get this SAVE Act passed is because he knows it's going to disenfranchise millions of people that are going to tend to be probably a little more low income and probably tend to be Democratic voters. That is the whole scheme of it. Okay. And it's important to understand the politics here. The Republicans actually have the majority votes to pass it, but they have to get over the 60 number filibuster rule. Okay. And at least to give them some credit, that being the Republicans in the Senate, they're basically saying, even though Trump wants them to, they aren't, at least so far, going to get rid of the filibuster. Okay. Because if they get rid of that, if they vote that out, then that thing's going to pass and it is going to disenfranchise millions and millions of people, and it will affect the results of elections.
And to circle back to something that Terrace mentioned, he said that, oh, it only affect people who are newly registering. You act like they don't purge the rolls all the time. They purge those rolls all the time. And so somebody who was already registered now might not be registered the next election. And so think about it. If that person is now having to re-register and they don't have a passport or they don't have a copy of their birth certificate, what is this person supposed to do? Especially if that person is coming from a low income area, they don't have $100 or $100+ to go and buy a passport, and then they might not get it in time because I think to rush a passport or something is like a couple $100. I think I paid a couple $100 for mine when I rushed it. Like that's
exactly what it is. It's a poll tax, and let's not forget.
Absolutely,
this is the main thing, Terrace. The SAVE Act is a solution in search of a problem. Let's just get off of this whole fever dream that Republicans and conservatives have that illegal immigrants are voting in our elections. First of all, that's a lie. It's not true. And even in cases where you might have found illegal immigrants who tried to vote in elections, the number is so stunningly small. I think it's like less than 20 out of millions of votes, right? This is facts and data, not conjecture, not Trump lies, not hyperbole that they spoon feed you on Fox News. These are facts. Lest we not forget, in Donald Trump's first time he got elected, he put together a commission that looked at voter fraud. They found nothing. And rather than conclude that fact, he disbanded the group so he didn't have to admit that voter fraud was a fiction. I've gone on and I've told you time and again what Frank LaRose has said about voter fraud, and he even tries to spin it now. He admittedly says, hey, there is no voter fraud, but you got to be diligent. You got to keep tweaking the rules to make sure people aren't voting. What is stunning to all of you conservatives who want to live by this narrative is that, first of all, you want to say that we got all of these illegal immigrants hanging out in the shadows of our country and we got to go ferret them out and deport them. These same immigrants who are hiding in the shadows, as you guys say, suddenly want to come out every election, every 4 years and vote, where it's a federal crime if you're caught. What your logic makes no sense. Your arguments make no sense. It's an insult to any intelligent person who thinks. And the fact that you guys talk about everybody having Trump derangement syndrome, you are the ones who really have Trump derangement syndrome because you go around spouting these nonsensical, non-factual arguments about voter fraud, and then you try to justify things like the SAVE Act that are completely unnecessary and amount to essentially a poll tax. I got to go out and buy some more identification beyond my driver's license that I don't need to prove who I am just to vote. That is a poll tax. I don't care how you try to dress it up, what you try to say. You are charging me extra money to register to vote for something that's not a privilege. It's a right that's written into the Constitution, right? A driver's license is a privilege, right? Voting is a right. And so this notion, one, that fraud even exists, and two, that you're going to make people incur extra expense to do something that is a constitutional right for them. Everybody, conservative, independent, liberal, ought to reject this outright.
Well, this is the reason why people say that that Trump supporters are in a cult, because it doesn't follow any policy philosophy. So it doesn't matter. They'll say on one hand, no more wars, but as soon as Trump goes into war, all of a sudden we had to go to war, right? It doesn't matter. There's no, it's just whatever he says, and that's why people on the outside looking in at it say that. So here's how voting already works. You got to be a citizen to register to vote. And every single time I've ever voted, whenever I walk over there, I got to give them my ID and they double check me against the voter rolls. You already do that. So clearly this is redundant. Clearly there's something else afoot here. And as Kevin said, and I've looked for the numbers, you know, Trump put a lot of time and effort. He spent a lot of money on lawyers trying to look for it. And even Republicans who are in charge of the way that states vote, like in Ohio, found zero. If they had found it, they would have put it out there. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And so it's like, I hear the frustration. It's like, these are the facts, but the facts ain't good enough because one man told you that you're just so whatever, enamored in. I mean, whatever you want to call it, you believe his leadership, cool. But I'll be honest with you. If this was Barack Obama or Joe Biden and they were saying something that makes no sense, I would say there's no evidence. It don't make sense. I don't care. I don't love any politician that much to go against the facts just because I might have voted for you or because I like some of your policies. And that's the reason why people look at certain Trump voters and they say, there's something going on here that just doesn't jive with reality. And it's just the way it is. So had they found massive voter fraud, okay, but they didn't. They didn't.
It's never been in existence, Nathan. And it's like all of these people, like Michael Egan is in here like, yeah, it's a right to carry a gun too, but they ID. Yes, but they don't ask you to prove your citizenship. You don't have to show your birth certificate. You don't have to show a passport, at least that I'm aware of, when you go to get a firearm. This is what I'm saying. This is what people are. Nobody is arguing against voter ID, right? You should have to prove who you are when you go to vote. Nobody is arguing against that. We already have voter ID laws in place. This is unnecessary, onerous, and burdensome is exactly what this is, because it's built on a fiction that illegal immigrants are voting in an election and are voting in an election at a clip, right? At a clip that would be statistically significant enough to change the outcome of an election. That is a lie, plain and simple. As my mama used to say, it's a lie forged in the fires of hell. That's exactly what that lie is. It's a damning lie that people that Trump has no shame. So I should say people should be ashamed to telling, but Donald Trump has no shame. Right. So it's not above him, but it's these delusional people who refuse to also acknowledge that Donald Trump contested his election 60 times in court cases and lost every single one.
Even before Republican judges.
How does the SAVE Act, how does the Democrats fighting against the SAVE Act help the Democrats? And
it's not about helping Democrats.
It helps America. It doesn't.
People. You guys are taking a Donald Trump of me just merely mentioning the SAVE Act because I don't agree or disagree with what's going on with the SAVE. All I was merely doing is saying that the Democrats are stopping this or blocking the SAVE Act, as Kevin said, and he agrees what they should do. So in counter, Trump is sending ICE to the thing. So you can't have it both. You can't say, oh, I stand up for the Democrats for standing up to Donald Trump. And then when Donald Trump does something to counter, be like, oh, I don't like what he did. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. Like,
what?
Okay.
They have nothing to do with each other. They have nothing to do with each other.
The only reason the ICE is in the airports, the only reason the ICE is in the airports is because the Democrats refuse to sign the bill that would fund the TSA agents.
That's not to say that.
Because that's not the only
not
thing on the
true.
bill, Terrace.
Are calling off work and not being in there, and there's long lines at the airports, long lines at the airport. I just flew. I had to wait for 45 minutes in a line, and so to ease the line and to ease the pressure, Trump has sent ICE agents. I mean, this is, and y'all are acting like this isn't a basic chess move. You block something that's like they are blocking. The Democrats are blocking.
It's not but what's being said to you is that the SAVE Act is not intelligent. It's not worse playing chess with this man.
They love it. I've been hearing that the people in the airports are so happy that they get to move through this airport and they feel safer. That's the stuff that
Where did you hear that at? Where did you hear that at, Terrence?
Where have you heard? Where did you hear that, Terrence?
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
You can. The media is so where you can find whatever you want to find on the internet. If my algorithm is finding people, and I'm scrolling, I'm finding people who like it, I'm gonna find people who like it, and they're gonna find people who defend it, and they're gonna find people who say people in ICE agents, they're not looking for illegal immigrants because the only people who would travel with illegal immigrants don't have the real ID, and the Chinese haven't been able to duplicate the real ID yet. So they're not even there for that. They're there to ease the pain of the TSA workers because the long lines at the airports. Because if you start affecting travel, look at spring breaks coming up. And if you start affecting these people who are traveling, you're going to affect the TSA and the travel business. So Trump stepped in and said, "Here you go." I'm not saying it's a good move or a bad move. I'm saying
it's completely mine.
Terrence wants to act like Donald Trump did this as some kind of
chess move,
a favor.
He did this as some kind of. Terrence, can I speak, brother? Terrence wants to act like Donald Trump is doing this as some sort of magnanimous act because of the TSA workers. Terrence almost had it right. This is a troll move by Donald Trump. That's all this is, by sending ICE into the airports, because he knows that it's going to get liberals and Democrats worked up. That's why he did it. And if it's helping out with the TSA people who are overworked or whatever, that's a side benefit of it. But Donald Trump primarily is putting ICE there as a thumb in the nose and in the eye of liberals and Democrats. That's what this dude does. He trolls Democrats because it makes no sense politically for all of the reasons that I said. ICE is a reminder. Look, ICE is not popular in America right now. The ICE is only popular with Democrats, with the Trump sycophants, right? Those are the only people who are trumpeting ICE right now based on everything that they've done in the cities. They don't have a good rep right now. And that's the bottom line. And so why you would want to thrust them into that situation politically doesn't work for him. But Donald Trump doesn't care about how it doesn't work for Republicans in the GOP politically. He only cares about himself. And he wants to put a thumb in the nose and the eyes of liberals by sending ICE into airports and making people uncomfortable and everything that comes along with that. That is his move there, not some sort of magnanimous strategy because TSA agents are quitting or they're undermanned. First and foremost, he's trolling Democrats. That's what he's doing.
Okay.
Let me play this for you. This is Steve Bannon, who, worked in the first Trump White House until I believe he got himself with some federal charges. I believe.
If I could just, before you play that.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Because it's related. I was about to mention that. Tell you the truth, I don't care about the ICE people helping out with the TSA guys. That actually doesn't bother me. But what I am afraid of is exactly what Steve Bannon is talking about here, which is using ICE to intimidate voters. That's what our real concern should be.
Yeah. Check this out. This is Steve Bannon on his podcast, which I must admit I have not got a chance to watch lately. Let's see if I can play this for you. Here it is. Roll tape.
ICE helping out at the airports. We can use this as a test run, as a test case to really perfect ICE's involvement in the 2026 midterm elections. And remember, they said they're not going to work the X-rays. It's too complicated. They're not trained for it, but they're trained to, wait for it, check IDs. That's why it's perfect training for the fall of 2026. This is why it's such a brilliant, this is another 5D chess move for President Trump. Let's get ICE into the airports to help out to the lines. They can't work the machines. You know what to do? Just walk them down. Hey, we're speed things too. Can we check your IDs? ICE is going to be there in the fall of 26, just like they're in the airports today. So from the war room, suck on that.
So there it is. That's what it's really all about. Or is it not? I mean, do you agree? Is that the 3D chess move? It's all about, oh, okay. Terrace is like, oh, this is a good thing. It looks like Terrace.
I didn't say it's a good thing. I didn't think about that element in the chess. Hey, I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm saying it's feasible. It's tangible. It's in the mind of a thinker like Donald Trump. That's a move that I could see he would make if it worked in DC, and it worked. He worked in DC. It cut the crime out. It worked in all these other places. He sent ICE in to help with crime. It did not work in Minneapolis, so he did some training. So now he's got Holmgren in there, and if it works in the airports, and they go, oh, there's a lack of poll workers in the thing. Oh, we'll just send ICE in. I could see him do it. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it. When
do
I
you
can
agree or disagree with it?
I wouldn't.
He can't say that he disagrees because it would be contradictory, right? To tell how he stands politically. He will never say he disagrees, but he hears how crazy it sounds. That's why he would prefer to be in that middle ground. Somebody like Terrace would prefer to be in that middle ground because as soon as he goes against something that makes sense to go against, but it's in favor of Donald Trump, I can't. For some reason, I can't.
You know why I do that? You know why I do that?
Malfunctions. He malfunctions. We're seeing it in real time.
It doesn't affect me. That stuff doesn't affect me. I can reach right now in my below my legs and pull out my birth certificate and my social security card and my ID just because I got it like that. Those things that happen like to people is because they're not prepared. I do not put myself in situations from people who are. I'm serious. I just don't. So if I say that I don't agree or disagree with it, it's because I don't let it affect me or my family. My family's going to have their stuff together. My family and myself, we're going to have our thing. And if your family don't,
you know how ridiculous you sound, brother. You think you sounding astute and smart, like I got it like that.
The
first thing, Terrace, let me just say this. The first thing is we live in America, a free country, which primarily means if I'm a citizen of this country, I don't have to walk around with my birth certificate and all of this identification that you're talking about on me at all time. I don't have to walk around in a police state where ICE is walking around like they're guarding the wall, like they're guarding the Berlin Wall or something like that. That is not what America is. And what is troubling is there's so many people like you who are okay, who making it sound like it's okay for the United States to become this freaking police state where ICE and all of these people are walking around checking people's IDs at random. That is not the United States. That is not the country that we grew up in or the free republic that we claim that we live in. If you want to live like that, then move your ass to China or someplace like that where you don't have those types of freedoms if you want to feel like that. But that is not the United States of America. And I'm sick of all of these red state people who want to talk about kneeling against the American flag is anti-American, but they endorse all of this anti-American crap that Donald Trump is shoving down their throat. You want to sit there and salute the flag, but then you want to go with all of this Nazi-esque fascist type crap, authoritarian crap that Donald Trump is trying to shove down your throat. Make a decision. Make up your mind. You either want to be a patriot and in charge of freedom, or you want to be somebody that wants to live under a police state and a dictator. Make up your mind, but you can't have it both ways, damn it.
Terrace, how would you respond to that?
I don't have it both ways. Like I said, I'll say in this programming, the things that I do is I handle things with my family, within my family first, and then the people in the community around me. That's how, and if people are going to fall a victim of this false propaganda that this Democratic Party keeps putting off of fear mongering about voter ID and voter fraud, and you don't have your birth certificate, and if I don't have my birth certificate, how am I going to get it? And you don't have the wherewithal to go get your birth certificate, you're going to get exactly.
It's not about having the wherewithal. It shouldn't have to be a
Yes,
thing,
yes,
Terrence. It just shouldn't have to be a
my
thing.
rebuttal.
Did you not hear a word that Kevin just said? We are
If
we live in America. We should not have to be, we should not have to roam the streets with our birth certificate on hand. That's not the kind of country that we live in.
If you don't get your affairs in order, you're gonna be lost. If you don't make
You sound crazy.
if
You
you
sound
don't
crazy. And you know what? You sound like one of the people who during Nazi Germany would have been perfectly okay with being stopped on the street by a Nazi and asked for your identification. That's what you sound like right now. You're trying very hard not to sound like that, but that's exactly what you sound like. Somebody who would be perfectly okay with fascism only if it don't affect you. And that's not a good person to be. Because what you're saying is, oh, I'm okay with fascism as long as it don't touch me. That's what you're saying right now. You don't think you're saying that, but that's
I'm
what you're
saying the
saying.
Democratic false propaganda that you guys are pushing out here to all
It's
these
not false. It's happening in real time. It's not false. It's happening in real time, right before your eyes. It's why you continue to cling to that gray area that you clinging to. You know it's real. You know it's real, Terrence. We're not gonna have this.
You're telling
We're not gonna do this.
me that black people can't get birth certificates when I have my birth
That ain't
certificate.
what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they shouldn't have to. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying they shouldn't have to.
Right. I think that's a very strong argument in the way it's hitting my ear. I mean, for years, especially when Obama and when Biden was in office, I heard, don't tread on me. I heard about my rights, the tyranny of the federal government. I think Kevin made an excellent point. Like, you have people run around talking about it's un-American to kneel at a football game, and now you're basically rubber stamping, having to walk around with your ID everywhere you go. It just don't make sense. And my fear is that there are people out there who may feel like it don't touch you, that by the time you realize it does, it's way too late to do anything about it. Way too late. And where's the don't tread on me people? Where's the local rule people? I mean, what has happened with all these people who are going to stand up against the tyranny of the federal government? They just seem to just be laying down for it like it doesn't really matter. It's very troubling.
Because they understand that they're not the ones who are going to be tread on.
All personality driven.
They're quiet right now because they believe that they won't be tread on. What was that? It was something that went viral. I didn't think the leopards were going to eat my face. It's that. I don't believe that I'm the person that will be tread on. So I'm cool with everybody else getting tread on. Everybody else can get tread all over their face. I'm cool.
Being a Democrat, you can't scare people into being Democrats. The fear mongering tactic.
I'm not trying to scare nobody into nothing. I'm stating facts. The world is scary right now. We live in pre-fascism right now.
Project 2025, Donald Trump, the big bad yellow orange man.
Everything in Project 2025 is happening, Terrence. Everything from one thing to the next. We going down the list at this point. Everything in Project 25 is happening right now. It's happening right now.
Project 2025 is 51% complete. Yeah, I mean, you talk about fear, but I've heard you talk about the fear of illegal immigrants, and that's the reason why you vote. That's what you said.
I didn't fear illegal immigrants. I'm not scared of anything. Only reason I fear is God. That's the only thing I fear. That's the only thing I fear. That's the only thing I fear. I don't fear anything except that.
Absolutely, I got you, bro.
That is such a cop out, and I say that as somebody who I don't fear nobody but God. Let's be real about it. But that's such a cop out to say in this conversation. It is so intellectually dishonest for you to say that in this particular conversation, and you know it. And Kevin know what I'm talking about because Kevin is a minister, so he knows. You don't say something like that in this conversation. It does not apply, Terrence. It don't apply.
Democratic fear tactics don't affect me. I put my face in the Most High, and
fear tactics don't affect you, but you're scared of immigration. Of illegal immigration.
I'm not
so for real right now.
Who said I was
You're
scared?
afraid that illegal immigrants are going to take over the country, but you don't fear nothing but God. Be so for real right now.
I did not say anything. You guys put these words in my mouth. That's why I can go back here and I can say everything y'all do, and I clip it back to show you exactly. I never said I was scared of immigration. I never said. I said I voted for Donald Trump because immigration and what y'all try to do with Kamala Harris. But I fear no man except God, and I know that God's going to supply my needs. Therefore, I fear none of this Democratic fear mongering that y'all been trying to do, and y'all get the low hanging fruit with.
Okay,
you didn't say it verbatim, but you strongly implied, and I asked you. This is going back maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I asked you, what I was just probing. What was your reason between Trump and Kamala Harris? And you nailed down 10 toes and said it was immigration, illegals coming across the border is what you said. I asked you, hold on, let me get it all out. I remember asking you you made such a big deal about it. It made me ask you, so how has illegal immigration impacted you? And you said it hasn't. But you were just afraid about them coming in and taking over the voter rolls and pushing black people.
See what I'm saying? This is the stuff that I'm gonna clip. This is what I'm gonna clip. I never said none of that, Nathan. I never. You can't even find me saying that they're gonna do this or do that. All I did, and all I do in this programming is just like y'all asked a question about: do you agree with ICE being inside the airports? I gave a very articulated point that is very factual, and instead of you guys taking what I said, y'all took.
You didn't answer the question. You refused to answer the question.
The SAVE Act, and y'all ran with the SAVE Act, and y'all didn't give me a chance. Y'all there was not even a segue to it. Y'all took one little thing that I said about the SAVE Act, and y'all took it like I agree with the SAVE Act. I'm Donald Trump's fan. I'm doing this. When all I did was address the
SAVE Act.
Excuse me?
Do you agree with the SAVE Act?
There's a part of the SAVE Act that I agree with, that men should not play women's sports. And that's the part that they're trying to get pushed through on the Republican side and the conservative side that I agree with. Men should not play women's sports. And if that's inside the SAVE Act, and that's the bump, is that the plate tectonic bump right there? And if that's the plate tectonic bump, I'm going to stand on the side of men should not play women's sports. That's the part of the SAVE Act that I'll deal with. Other than all the other filth and pork, you can't get me pulled into it because none of y'all know what that SAVE Act.
Pull you in, bro. And then on ICE at the airports, it looks like, are you a thumbs up or thumbs down on ICE at the airports?
ICE in the airport, thumbs all the way up. Keep it up.
All the way up. All right, got it. All right. Listen, so Robert Mueller passed away recently. And Robert Mueller was so famously the leader of the FBI. And he did a lot of things. I learned more about Robert Mueller in his death and just kind of reading about, his bio than I knew when he was alive. But he was the guy, I think a lot of people of a certain generation are going to remember that he was the FBI director that investigated the Russian claims, the collusion, and it was more than just claims, the collusion between the Trump administration's campaign, the Trump campaign, not administration, and then also, Russian agents that wanted to see him become president. Well, he passed away, and the president of the United States made some comments that, some people said were in poor taste. Other people said, hey, that was Donald Trump. He's allowed to feel the way he want to feel, including his secretary, his Treasury secretary. I want to play a little clip for you of, I believe his name is Scott Bessent. He's the Treasury secretary. He went on, I think it was NBC. And he was asked a question about it. And I want you to hear what he has to say and then tell me what you think.
Of the what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. They are going through his wife's wardrobe. And I watched the look in his eye, and I think that neither one of us can understand what has been done to the president and to his family.
But to the question of the president's post, I mean, Robert Mueller didn't order that raid. Is it appropriate for the president to celebrate the death of any American citizen?
Again,
Mr. Secretary?
I think that given what has been done to President Trump and his family, it is impossible for either of us to understand what he has been through.
So you don't think that there's anything wrong with the post saying good Robert Mueller's dead?
Again, I think that we should all have a little empathy for what has been done to him and his family.
All right. It's appropriate for the President of the United States to celebrate the death of an American citizen, someone who's a Bronze Star, Purple Heart recipient and who served in Vietnam?
Kristen, I was with the President in the green room at Davos, and there was a video playing of what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago.
So that's the Treasury Secretary. I thought this Welker did a good job. I thought it was a fair question. I want to ask the same question. Is it appropriate for the president to celebrate the death of an American citizen?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So can I keep it real here for a second? Can I just keep it real here for a second as we talk about this? As the president of the United States, no, it's not appropriate. But let's just be real. Okay. If somebody has done something to you that you feel like you don't like, that's unfair or unjust, and something happens to them, you may not have no love lost for them. And the reason why I'm keeping it real is because when Donald Trump leaves this earth, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to dance on his grave and who will say the exact same thing that he said about Robert Mueller because of how they feel about Donald Trump. So let's just keep it real that all
Oh
of
yeah.
us it's not a great thing. It's nothing that any of us are proud of, but it's real. When people you don't like or who you feel like have hurt you, you're not wishing for their death, but when they gone, you ain't sorry they gone. So let's just keep it real right there for a minute. I think that everybody has come across somebody. You wasn't wishing for them to die. You didn't want nothing to happen to them, but you wasn't shedding tears when they departed this earth. I think that's the same sentiment that a lot of people had when Charlie Kirk died and so forth and so on. So I'm not saying that people aren't entitled to feel however they want to feel. But I think in terms of what we say in terms of decorum and what we should expect from people who set the example in leadership in our country, they're called to a higher standard to not express and say everything that they think. We know that that's not Donald Trump's strong suit. So the fact that he said it is not surprising. Donald Trump says a lot of things that are crude and unstatesmanlike. But you can't say this. One thing you can't say about it is that he's not real. And that's what a lot of people like about him is that Donald Trump is real. He says what he feels. He says what he thinks. For a lot of people, they don't like that. A lot of people don't like that, particularly when it comes from leadership. But if we all being real, and people will get on here and they'll try to act like they're holier than thou and that they don't have feelings like that, towards some people.
Feelings and saying something are two different things.
I said that, Phil. Did I not say that?
Yeah, but you keep saying Trump has feelings. Who cares what his feelings are? No, I may feel happy.
I'm talking about purely from a human element, Phil. Yes,
yeah,
you can feel that. You have a right to feel how you want to feel. Should he have said it as the president? No, I said that with my statement.
Human being.
I said that with my statement. But what I'm saying is what this guy was trying to say. If you want to keep it real,
keep it real.
When Donald Trump passes, there are going to be a lot of people.
Whoa.
Dancing.
There will be people.
A lot of people going to be celebrating and dancing.
Well, I'll tell you something.
Like they did with the OJ verdict.
I'm just saying. When he passes, if he was to pass, I might in my heart feel, phew, boy, we're over that. But I would not say that. Okay.
And Phil, here's really what it comes down to. And this is really what it comes down to. I agree with you. I wouldn't say anything at all. Like they say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. But don't try to put across these weak platitudes like, oh, you really feel sorry that somebody has passed when you're not. That level of disingenuousness is not any good either. And I think that's what people are sick of. When they know you ain't really like somebody and then you're going to try to get up and say something nice. I'd just rather you not say.
How about just being polite? How about saying, look, I disagree with him. There's no question about that. But I respect whatever good he did. And the truth of the matter is, even Donald Trump has done some good things. And if he dies, if somebody who's opposed him wants to say, I disagree with most stuff, I respect him for this, but let him rest in peace. And here's the thing to think about. We talk about on this show a lot. Well, you know what? And I'm not here to jump on Taris like everybody has, but I will say, Taris, you have said, well, the reason you voted for Trump is because Kamala Harris was so bad. Okay. Here's the difference. If you want to really see the difference, the ultimate difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, or frankly, Donald Trump, just about any other leader, is a couple things. Kamala Harris and even Mitch McConnell would never, ever, if somebody died, say, I'm glad he's dead. They just wouldn't do it. I'll tell you something else. They and almost any leader wouldn't send out a video of the Obamas as chimpanzees. They just wouldn't do it. Okay. John, and by the way, about Robert Mueller, I actually think he should have been tougher when he was a special prosecutor. And I think he should have said, the Justice Department policy is we don't indict, sitting presidents, but if he wasn't, he should have been. And I wish he had said that. But the truth is, he had a very, very distinguished career. I think Nathan pointed, I think he was the guy who investigated, was the Lockerbie bombing, I can't remember, but all kinds of major, major things that he excelled at and excelled as FBI director. So it's not like this guy was some kind of fool or some nasty guy. He was a very distinguished American. And
Phil,
yeah, Kevin's
with
right.
With all due respect, Phil, I hear what you're saying and I don't disagree. But that's because you can say all that because you feel like Robert Mueller ain't done nothing to you. If Robert Mueller had done something to you, I don't care how distinguished he was or what he did. If you had a personal beef with him, you're not going to be like, oh, well, this guy tried to destroy my family. And I'm not standing up for Trump. I'm talking about real. In Trump's mind, this is probably how he thinks. And I'm translating it to the average person. If you feel like somebody was out to destroy you, to hurt you, I don't care what else they did. Your personal position on them is not going to be one where you're going to be like, oh, yeah, this dude tried to destroy my family and throw me in jail. But he was a great statesman who did a lot of other things.
Say nothing.
Nobody in it. That's what, isn't that what I said, Phil?
That's what Kevin said.
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said. But don't fake the funk like you're going to come out and say like, oh, this was a great statesman and he was this. That's fake. That's fake. Like this is what, and I understand why a lot of politicians do it because this is what we are. This is what we have been bred to accept is people coming out and being fake and saying things that they don't really feel. But I know, somebody made the statement like the same people that would be dancing on Trump's grave call themselves Christians. Here's the problem that I think people have with this whole notion of Christianity. There is only one perfect person who walked the face of the earth, as far as I'm concerned, and that's Jesus. All the rest of us are sinners saved by faith. And the difference between me and everybody else who walks around here, they want to try to act like they're Jesus and that they're perfect and that they don't have bad thoughts.
That's not it.
That they don't do something. No, but that's how I get presented by people when they want to throw that out there. Like, oh, Christians can't ever have a thought.
I don't read it that way.
Towards something. We're human first. We have thoughts all the time that are not God-like, that are not Christian-like. And if you're honest with yourself, because God sees our hearts, he sees our minds. Even if you don't say it, the mere fact that you thought it is enough. Enough.
But thoughts and actions
is enough to repent. Absolutely.
If you know anything about your Bible,
it popping into your mind.
Thought it is
absolutely
sinful.
Yeah.
Here's where I disagree, and I got to get off the train with you, Kevin, because I think I understand what you're saying. But what did Robert Mueller do to Donald Trump? He didn't do anything to him. Let me give you a quick example. I was like in a second or third grade, and I can remember this. I took a piece of candy from my teacher's desk, and I got sent to the principal's office. I wasn't mad at the principal. I took the piece of candy. I didn't have a beef with the principal. I took the candy, right? Robert Mueller, what did he do to Donald Trump? How did he try to destroy him? He simply was following the investigation.
But Nathan, you're operating on the assumption that Donald Trump is the kind of person who thinks logically about things like this. We know that Donald Trump is a narcissist. He is more emotional than logical, and so it don't matter what he perceives to be the truth or not. Like he perceived that Robert Mueller did something to him.
You're right, but that is not my point.
And that's enough for him to be like, yeah, man, I'm glad he gone. Like that for Donald Trump, that was enough.
100%, you are right, but that is not my point. We all know that Trump is who he is. I'm talking about how we talk about it, right? We can't, these false equivocations between how Donald Trump is reacting to Mueller and how we might react to something are false. What did Robert Mueller do to Donald Trump?
What did
he do to him?
That's to get candy, like you were talking about. You just took accountability for your analogy. You said when you took the candy and you didn't blame somebody else. Yes, Donald Trump had those documents. So what Mueller do? He sent the FBI.
Mueller was not in the documents case. Mueller was not in the documents case. Mueller was investigating Russian collusion allegations. And if you go back and look at the Senate Intelligence Investigation in their report, which is on Wikipedia, there was a whole lot to it. A whole bunch of people went to jail behind it. So it wasn't fraudulent. It wasn't made up. It wasn't a hoax. It was real. If anything, I remember Robert Mueller. If anything, he did Trump a favor and let him off the hook.
Well, I mean, that's
not technically true because Donald Trump took he took Robert Mueller's report and he said it exonerated him, and that absolutely was not what the report did. That was simply how Donald Trump said it.
On it.
And I
But
don't think
Mueller
there was ever
also,
any
but
conclusive.
Mueller also softened the blow with the conclusions and recommendations that he put out with the report. We were all waiting on it with bated breath. I remember like it was yesterday. So I mean, this idea that somebody did something to him is not really consistent with reality. Nobody did anything.
But
to
look
him.
who you're talking about, though, Nathan. Look who you're talking about. To Raven's point, you're talking about what's consistent with reality. And again, this is the whole Robert Mueller thing is a matter of perspective, and we know that Trump's perspective is skewed. So you and I can look at this objectively and say exactly like what you said. Like, man, he should have been celebrating this man for somewhat softening, the results of this report that was trying to take him under. But that ain't how Trump views it, because Trump looks like if you're not 100% with him, you're against him. You're an enemy. And so from Trump's vantage point and his perspective, there's nothing good that he could say about Robert Mueller, because he doesn't look at him as being a part of his team. So perspective matters in terms of how. That's my whole point, that the perspective of the person who's expressing the feelings matter. It don't matter what you think. You can't tell me nothing about how I feel about somebody, right? Even if you don't feel that same way, it don't matter how you feel. It matters how I feel. And that's the thing that's the point about this argument. Now, again, if you want to go back to the base thing of should the president have said what he said, absolutely not. But I'm trying to have a real human conversation about how most of us react in situations.
You're trying to have a human conversation. You're trying to have a human conversation about somebody who's inhuman. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, the fact of the matter is, without getting all deep into this, when somebody dies, you don't say, "I'm glad he's dead." What it shows is a mind that is really, frankly, messed up. And the reason I brought up this thing versus when people say, I hear this all the time from my friends, majority of whom voted for Trump. Oh, I don't like him, but I like his policies. You like his policies? A guy who would say that I'm glad he's dead, a guy who would put a video of the Obamas as chimpanzees, a guy who, by the way, would attack John
McCain,
John McCain, a war hero, because he was captured from a guy who didn't even got out of the draft. I mean, somebody who does that is so I won't use the word F word, but is so screwed up. That alone, I don't care what the policies are, that alone should cause everybody to say, I am not going to vote for this guy because this guy is crazy.
And if we're going to keep it real and have a real conversation, that to me, that's not keeping it real. That's keeping it cruel. I mean, those comments were straight up cruel. So let's not hide behind saying it's just real. That's straight up cruel. Robert Mueller is a highly decorated citizen who put his life on the line for this country in a way that most of us would run away from. And people like that deserve our respect, and somebody should stand up on that. The man's got a Purple Heart. They don't give those away. The man's got a Purple Heart. That used to mean something. Like the people that earn that, they earn that with blood and sweat and
just
limbs.
like John McCain. Just like John McCain.
And we just like, he didn't like him? No. Where are the people who stand up for the people that need to be stood up for? Right is right and wrong is wrong. And I would say the same way. Let's say Obama said that, or I just key Obama because, he's someone that a lot of people like for whatever reason on the Democrat side, Biden, whoever, Kamala Harris, I feel the exact same way.
Ask a question.
We need grown-ups in powerful positions to display professionalism, even when your emotions are involved.
Can I ask a question? Can that same logic be applied to when Jesse Jackson passed away and the Jackson family asked Democratic pundits not to get up and make comments about make this a political thing, but the Democrats instead use that political grandstand and a funeral to take pokes at Donald and to Kamala Harris? Look what I told you. I told you. Like I told you so. All that stuff. And all these presidents got on there.
That's completely different than saying I'm glad he's dead, Terrace. Like we're kind of reaching.
So
I'm kind of reaching a little bit.
I am proposing a question because you're saying it was bad for Donald Trump and the decorum and all that kind of stuff for a president to say anything about something. Where's the same energy for the family members of the Jesse Jackson, who the family member said, let's not make this political, and the presidents all got up there and made it political. It's no difference. It's no difference. And also, where was Donald Trump in this when Jesse Jackson passed away? If Donald Trump was such a horrible person, this racist that everybody said that he claims to be, not saying he is or he isn't, but if he was just some effed up man who was going to just say mean things about people for no reason, calculated.
No, he
would have said something about Jesse Jackson.
No, he has
reasons and personal vendettas to say the things that he said, and he said it on his platform. It wasn't like he went on worldwide. He probably said it on Truth Network to where his people, his base, and the Democrats went to, oh, look what he said. Look what he said. So I'm just saying, like I agree with you. You're saying Trump probably should have kept his things to himself, but where's the same energy for when Jesse Jackson's family asked for no political rhetoric, and all of them went up there and made it a political thing and turned Jesse Jackson's funeral into a political thing. So where's the smoke for that?
Politicians gonna politic. That's the number one thing. I mean, so asking a politician to not be political, that's like asking a dog not to be a dog. So there's no surprise. There's no surprise there. I mean, I get what everybody is saying. As the president of the United States, as anybody in leadership position, if you are going to say something, you don't say what Donald Trump said. If you don't want to be fake and you're in that position, then don't say anything at all. Like those are the two positions that I think you're in. You either say something that's meaningful and respectful, or you don't say anything at all if you don't really feel that. I'm not suggesting that Donald Trump needed to get up and say effusive things about Robert Mueller if that's not what he felt. I mean, I don't blame somebody who feels a certain way towards a person for not wanting to get up and have to say like ultra nice things about them if they don't want to. You wouldn't do that. I mean, you wouldn't want to have to get up and be forced to say something nice about somebody that you didn't have no love for.
If I was the president, then I would do my job. My job is bigger than just me. That's how I would look at it. I mean, if I'm the president of the United States, it's not about me. It's about what the country is. So you're right. I might not get up and go on a long flow about all your superlatives, but I'm not going to get up and say, I'm glad you were dead.
That's what I said.
Right.
I'm not saying that he should have said that, Nathan, but I'm also saying I abide by the thing. If you can't say something nice, then don't say anything at all.
I'm with you on that. But when
I would just like to put this.
Say something.
I would just like to put this because I think that a lot of tone and intention gets lost when stuff becomes like social media drama, which this current president that we have, he's an expert at social media beefing and drama. So that's the only reason why we talk about this right now. But let's just take this away from social media. What we're looking at is if we put this in reality, if we put this in real life terms, we're looking at the difference between somebody going to somebody that they don't like's funeral, getting up during the portion before the eulogy and being like, I didn't like him, we were enemies, I'm glad he's dead, versus you just sitting, you were invited because you are a prominent figure in the community, you were invited, you sit in your seat and you zip your lips and you be respectful. That is leadership. That is what was required here. You show up because you are president, because that is your job. You don't get up in the middle of this service where this man's family can see this. This is posted on the internet. His family can see this and read these things that you're saying about their loved one. You basically what you did was get up in the middle of that man's funeral and say, I'm glad he did. And that's disrespectful. But that's also, against Kevin's point, that's also the behavior of a narcissist. We're not dealing with somebody who deals in reality. We're dealing with somebody who deals via the lens of his narcissism. So it don't matter that he didn't do nothing to me. It don't matter that I'm the president and I have a certain level of responsibility with this leadership that I hold. I'm a narcissist. Everything is about me and how I feel and what I perceive. So yeah, Robert Mueller didn't do everything I wanted him to do when it came to me. So I'm glad he did. That's what we're looking at. It's dead wrong. He shouldn't have said anything at all because we don't know him for saying nice things about people that he doesn't like. We only know him for this. His entire presidency. We only know him for this. So
Can I ask you?
it's almost kind of unrealistic to expect him to have reacted any other way. This is a pattern. I feel like this
I got,
got to be like the 10th time we done
Yeah,
sat on this podcast,
yeah.
and Nate, you've asked us the question: was this appropriate for the president of the United States? And every time the answer is no,
I got
because
to
this is what
And
Donald
that's
Trump
what.
does.
Thank you, Raven. That's what I was gonna say about the question in general. The question, like I say all the time, these are Nathan put out some Marion Barry setup questions, right? Look, Donald Trump. Donald Trump. This question.
What's whoa, I missed the whole
First of
connection.
all,
What does that have to do with Marion Barry?
Donald
Talking
Trump
about the
have
guy who
said
was
that.
mayor of DC. What do you explain? I didn't know.
Donald
Get the
Trump did.
analogy.
Have you ever seen the movie Five Heartbeats or Temptation when Big Red walks in the funeral and tries to kiss the dude's wife? He said, "I'm sorry about your." That's what Donald Trump did. When Raven was talking about that, it reminded me of Big Red walking into that funeral of the Five Heartbeats whenever he done killed that man and walking up to his wife and saying, "If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know." And then she smacks him. Big Red. Y'all don't know what movie I'm talking about?
I know what you're
I
talking
don't,
about.
but
Yes, I know.
I
Classic.
don't, but I get the point.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
classic.
That's all I'm saying. I
this
like
is
to put
not
stuff in
anything new.
real
You
life
remember
and
when
reality.
who was the movie director? Rob Reiner. You remember when him and his wife
Yeah,
Yeah.
got killed? I mean, this is par for the course.
murdered
This is
by
par
his
for the
son.
course for Donald Trump. Like Donald Trump, and this is my whole point. Like, if you are on his side, he's got nothing but nice things to say about you. If you're not on his side or he perceives you as an enemy, he's going to rake you over the coals. So you can't talk about Donald Trump in the same vein as you would talk about a John McCain or a Barack Obama or anybody else that we would normally expect to say the types of things that most politicians would say when somebody passes. Donald Trump is not in that class of individual. And this is my point, is that you can like or not like what Donald Trump says, but he keeps it 100 from his perspective when it comes to talking about his friends and his enemies, right? And so anybody who expected Donald Trump to say anything remotely statesman-like when it came to Robert Mueller, you're the fool. Like, you're the fool. Like, that is totally outside of anything I say this time and again. I'm sick of people expecting Donald Trump to suddenly and magically transform into this dude that he has not been. We got into this on the last pod, Nathan, where
I don't
you
think that's
started
what it is.
waxing philosophical about, well, I would hope President Trump would eventually learn how to become this leader who could get us out of the war and do some. And I'm just sitting here like, dude, what planet are you on that you can hope against hope all you want that this guy is going to be different? But he is who he is. So
Well, I don't see the point. Yeah, he is. So Hitler was who he is. Mussolini was. So what's the point? But
yeah,
if
but
I could just share one,
the question of the
I gotta jump
expectation
off.
is, but the question of the expectation is like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was almost a question that didn't need to be asked if we're going to talk about it in the framework of Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, I don't think there was anybody on the show who was saying I am surprised by it. But in either case, if I could just share one thing, I apologize, I have to jump off. But something stuck in my mind when I was a prosecutor in juvenile court. I think it was Judge Grossman at the time. There was a guy who was being sentenced for some kind of sex crime. Okay, and I'll never forget. He said to the guy, "Sir, we all have desires that are inappropriate and that are wrong. We all have that, but we don't all act out on them." And I thought that was a very, very astute point. And I think the same thing applies here. Sure, all of us, Kevin's right. Somebody who treated us badly or we're angry at or whatever dies. Yeah, we're thinking, glad he's gone. But we have enough, hopefully, impulse control impulse control not to say that. And the fact that we have somebody in the White House that has so little impulse control, who would do that thing about the Obamas, say that thing about McCain, now Rob Reiner, and now this, the fact that he has so little impulse control should cause, I think, anybody to say this guy is unfit to be president, because impulse control is what separates what man from beast, basically, isn't it?
But we go through this every show. You say he's unfit to be president, Phil, but he is. He is. 77 million people voted for
and
this.
I'm saying that the 77 million
narcissistic, everything that you just described him to be, 77 million plus Americans voted for that.
So what's your point?
I'm with you. I'm not disagreeing with anybody on this panel. I'm in the same boat as you guys. But 77 million plus other people looked at everything that you just said and said, that's my guy. And
So
that's
what's
where
your
we
point?
are as a country.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a bad reflection on our country, truthfully.
Yeah.
It really is. Poor
And
reflection.
I like Genesis' point. She says, but we must not make it appear to be normal. And that's why the question and stand in that line is so important. If we just accept it for what it is and that's just how he is, on some level, we tacitly endorsing it and making it normal.
I get your point. Like as from a standpoint of the question asker, I get exactly why you asking the question. It's just as a person who has to answer the question, it's like, come on, Nate, why, like we really asking obvious questions. Like as the person who has to respond, it's just frustrating because we know what the answer is already. But again, I get the reason you're asking it is because it's not normal, and we should not ever become okay or normalize it because it's just not normal behavior. It is not becoming of the United States of America. It is not becoming of that seat that he sits in. It's just not. But it's been unbecoming of him since his first term. We knew what he was the first time around. That's why the 92% sat our ass down, because we knew what this was.
But can I make this point again? And this goes back to my 77 million number. And Phil says it speaks about something to the state of our country. But this is why I try to make the point about, and a lot of people are in the chat are like, well, we're not talking about the average human person. We're talking about the president. We're talking about leadership. But you got to understand that one of the things that made Donald Trump popular is that he didn't talk like normal politicians. He didn't use the platitudes. He didn't use the fakery. He said what normal people thought. When Donald Trump got caught with the Access Hollywood tape, I'm convinced of this. When he got caught with the Access Hollywood tape, and he came out and he said, hey, that's just locker room talk. You know, that's how guys talk in the locker room. If you are a man in this country, right now, you may not have gone up and said, you can grab them by the privates and do what you want to, because most men can't do that. But when he said locker room talk, every man in America can say unequivocally that they've had some conversations around some other men with some commentary about women that had women heard it, we would not be put in a flattering position. So when Donald Trump came out and said, hey, this is what guys talk about, this is locker room talk, every man in America had to sit there and be like, even if you was just like, yeah, that's objectionable that he got caught, you had to admit, like, yeah, I maybe have said a thing or two, objectify women, or said something that if I had been caught on tape and had been exposed, I would have looked just as bad, right? I think that's maybe not every man, but I think like most men could probably say that what Donald Trump said about locker room talk was accurate. So when Donald Trump does these things, this is why I said, if we're keeping it real, most people can reflect and say, and because I've seen it in the comments about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I've seen it in the comments about Charlie Kirk. There are a lot of people and there were some people who wouldn't have had a problem if a Democratic politician had come out and said something about Charlie Kirk. Democrats would have defended that individual. Well, he's just speaking truth. It may not have been right, but he was just speaking truth. You know, some people would have defended it.
Some, but I don't know if you can put the label of Democrat. But back to your locker room analogy,
I'm just saying, people who didn't like Charlie Kirk, they would have co-signed it, and they wouldn't have been mad if a Democratic politician had come out and said it. Why?
I saw a lot of black people who were upset with Charlie Kirk. because of the things he said about black people. But back to your locker room analogy, you're right. I've been in the locker room and heard all of that. It is locker room talk. But I've been in the locker room and heard dudes talking and thinking he can never date my daughter. I don't want you to be a leader. So just because it's locker room talk doesn't mean that it's the kind of person that should be in a leadership position. I've heard people say things locker room, and in my mind, it completely disqualifies them in my mind.
But I say to you, 77 million plus people disagree with you. 77, and this is the part that is hard for most of us who are on this podcast to wrap our mind around. You find it objectionable. That's not somebody you would want to be around or want your daughter to marry. But there were 77 million people that looked at that same thing that you say is disqualifying, and it wasn't to them.
Right, because the idea of having a black female in a leadership,
whatever the idea was.
Yeah, but that's a part of it. It wasn't just that. He wasn't running against. He wasn't running unopposed. There were 77 million people that looked at the other option and said, "I don't want to go there," for a variety of reasons, race and gender, a variety of reasons.
Race and gender as a mix the second time around, but the first time around he was running against Hillary. And so we found out then that Americans don't give a damn about having a woman, as you know what I'm saying, or valuing women in a way that means anything to them as far as picking a political candidate, because when the grab her by the you know what came out, that was when he was running against Hillary. So they didn't have nothing if I'm not mistaken. So that right there let us know then that there was a large demographic of American voters who don't give a damn about objectifying women. We knew that then. Right. And I'm gonna say this before I get off. You made a point about saying, well, yeah, in the locker room, I'll hear a guy say something like that, and say to myself, well, I wish I wouldn't want you to be around my daughter, and yeah, blah blah blah. We might have to come back to this on different podcasts. It's a whole conversation to be had around that. But it, as a woman, and typically as a woman, as the only woman in spaces and platforms such as these, I would love it for it to be more than just, oh, you hearing a guy say, oh, I would want him to date my daughter, and you actually saying to that guy, hey, what you just said was disrespectful to women. I think you should probably, think about your attitudes towards women and why you think it's okay to objectify them in that way. I would hope, as the women or the men that I know love and care about me in my life, I would hope that you would be brave enough to stand up for me in moments where I'm not present, to say something along those lines. But that's just me. I gotta go, y'all. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
Happy birthday.
That's all I got, guys. Everybody's jumping off, and we are past our 90-minute countdown anyway. So I know you guys are very busy individuals. I know Kevin has to get back to his GQ photo shoot, his GQ lifestyle, and Terrace is Big Willie and with the music. And I appreciate you both. To all the people in the audience, really appreciate you as well. And maybe we'll come back to that conversation. I think it's a fair comment. We can pick back up on it another day. So I'm not sure if there's anything that we need to be addressed, or maybe read some comments.
I would just say on that point about Raven, I think it goes both ways, because I'm sure there are things that are said in female circles about men that I wonder if there's that same sort of caping that Raven is asking for women. I think it's a great conversation to have, because I think, the views that men and women have of each other and what the expectations are or not for each other are interesting in terms of, what men expect from women and what women expect from men. What do they give? What do each of them give in return? The same return for what they expect. So I think that'd be a great conversation for us to get into.
Read my mind. As she was speaking, I was thinking the same thing. Like, okay, well, you got to do the reverse. You got to speak up for men when we're not in the room as well. But
right.
I'm down for the conversation, though. I love to have a conversation when we got like a lot of women on the crew too. So
yeah, you definitely. It can't just be one on four. Right. Like, you got to have equal numbers. It's got to be like 3 on 3 or something like that. If we had that podcast, it's got to be equal numbers, I think.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate to the panel or not the panel, but the audience that watches. We might go at it, but I got nothing but mass respect for Nathan, Kevin, Phil, Raven, everybody. I just want to reiterate that again, because we get heated on here sometimes, but it ain't nothing but love and respect for the audience, people that come on here and jump in the chat. I just think it's great, man. It's a highlight of my week, and I just wanted to publicly say that.
I got family members that voted for Trump, but they swear up and down to support him, and we argue, and then we get us a plate and we play some video games or we watch some games or something like that, play some cards and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? But I really appreciate everybody. Thank you. People saying great things about the show. Shout out to Twin for joining us. Appreciate it. And we're scheduled to be back on Friday at 1:15 p.m. Not so sure about the crew makeup right now, but we guys will let you know on our Facebook. And putting out more content and memes, asking questions that we'll bring back into the show. I put this meme out earlier asking how people felt about ICE agents at airports. And Janice was first. She writes, absolutely not. Pay the TSA employees. Carolyn posted that meme. Brenda writes, nope, I do not. Steve writes, simply a dumb idea. Another one added to the list. Roy writes, nope. Jordan wrote, both TSA and ICE main objective is furthering DHS priorities. Reassignments of manpower are common, especially restructuring the federal government. Preserving human capital, in my opinion, is better than layoffs. That kind of like says something. That's kind of like along the lines of what the point that you were making, Terrence, right?
Yeah, just
You know what I'm saying?
replay.
Yeah, okay. So we'll be doing more of that. Put your comments when you see the meme questions out there. We'll put it up there, and it can be a part of our conversation, spark some debate, and really appreciate you. And we're on Facebook and YouTube, and follow us on both. And really appreciate you. And we'll get back with you real soon.
All right. Hey, and thanks, Nathan, for everything you do, man. You're an awesome maestro, putting the questions together, all the stuff that you do to make the show great. You're the engine that drives us, bro. And I always want to make sure you get your props and your respect for putting together a great show for us twice a week. So
most
thank you for everything you do.
Yep. Appreciate it. Good fun. Get a chance to still be out there, and have a great rest of your Tuesday and a great week. We'll talk real soon.